Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Last time around we had a fierce counterattack where basically it was everybody versus father, which was interesting. Everybody was doing their best. Roy had Riza there to guide him with his sight while he unleashed an inferno. And he was still getting used to the clapping alchemy, but he found that it did have some advantages, like being able to just, bring up a wall at a moment's notice. But yeah, everybody was doing their best. It was really, really interesting. And at the end, Al actually sacrificed himself, literally sacrificed himself with human transmutation to restore Ed's right arm, his original right arm, since his automail had been broken. And with that, he went and he's beaten the shit out of Father now. And yeah, so this could be it. Honestly, I'm kind of looking at this like, I bet you the last episode is going to be sort of the aftermath episode. So if that's the case, we're in for a big one today. So yeah. We've got 2 episodes left. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the penultimate episode. Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Here we go.
やっと見つけた新しい朝は月日が邪魔をする
Alrighty. I mean, that definitely was it. That's the end of the story. But we do have one more episode left. But as I pretty much called, it's aftermath. It is epilogue, This was the end of the story, basically. Oh, man. That was good. That was good. Oh, my God. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. We pretty much had the deaths of the real last homunculi. I know when Wrath and Pride died, I put that in the thumbnails, the last homunculi, but no, we still had a couple to go through, but still. So, the last homunculi. First was greed. Man, that is such an interesting thing, Which, I mean, they've already established that, a homunculus can basically, I guess, kind of go against, at least one of them can kind of go against their own, I don't want to say programming, but their own nature, Because we already saw that with Pride, that, he had all this pride about being a homunculus, but then at the drop of a hat, he was willing to abandon that and use Ed's body instead. And that's why Kimberly went against him, And yeah, we basically had a similar thing here where greed, he wasn't completely driven by that, but at the same time, you could say he never went against, his own nature, because he did finally get what he always wanted, Friends who cared about him. He had Ed, he had Ling, Man. And because of that, because he got what he had always truly wanted, he was able to let himself go. And he reversed his ultimate shield within Father's body to make it completely brittle. That was good. That was really good. And yeah, Greed sacrificed himself. Greed sacrificed himself to save them. Damn. What a freaking send-off for Greed, man. Greed is probably my favorite of the homunculi because his story is so interesting, where the rest of them were all... I mean, and they all had really interesting stories. They were all really interesting characters, but they pretty much all were villains, That's their whole purpose. They all served their father, except for Greed, Greed always served himself, So I like that distinction between him and the other homunculi, that even and, there were some deviations, there were always some deviations, gluttony, I think, was definitely a bit of a deviation. He cared for, he had lust and envy and, his own desire for food, but, like, he didn't, there were times where he wouldn't kill Al, or just didn't, It's not that he wouldn't, he just didn't in the moment, But Greed, I really did enjoy that Greed was so different from the other homunculi. And it makes perfect sense with his own nature, So that was good. And then the other homunculi, the next homunculi to die was Father. Because, with that brittle body, all it takes is one hit from Ed, and he's out, and all the souls of those Xerxians are gone. Oh. That was it. That was the end of him. And it's an interesting thing, basically getting pretty much his motivation for everything was it's you could honestly say it sort of parallels Ed when he says, I've been led astray by alchemy. It's the same thing of his quest for perfection led him down the wrong way, And you can honestly see the both of them. You can see very large parallels between Father and Ed, where, they both had this sort of catalyst, they tried to play God, For Father, it was everything he was doing to eventually obtain the power of God. For Ed, it was, as a human, it was trying to revive the dead, the false human transmutation, And that's the thing, is that they were both basically led astray, where a Father, it wasn't a terrible idea, It wasn't a terrible thing that he tried to do necessarily. Like, he wanted to escape his container, He wanted to escape the flask. He wanted to be free. But in doing so, like, your freedom does not mean you can trample everybody else, Like, the oppression that he caused because he wanted to be free, that's not how that works, That is absolutely not how that works. And it's just it just doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. And so they basically reach two different conclusions, where Father reaches, the disaster, basically. He fails to achieve his goal, and he gets punished. Whereas Ed figures out the right thing, is that, what does he have that he can get rid of in order to save Al? He has his alchemy. And if he gets rid of that, the power that he has had, then that's how you do it. That's how you do it. And Father didn't work for him. Didn't work. He tried to reach perfection, but he was led astray, basically. Just the path he walked down was just not correct. That was not what he needed, And the truth. Anyone who would play God should be punished. That's the truth. And sure enough, the truth gave him exactly what he said. So that was good. That was the end of Father, the dwarf in the flask. And then, we got the whole thing of, how do you bring back Al's body, And they think, well, should we use the Philosopher's Stone? Or, should we use the Philosopher's Stone? And Ed's saying, no, I can't do that. And he doesn't want to use any human lives, He doesn't want to use a Philosopher's Stone. He doesn't want to use Hohenheim. He doesn't want to sacrifice someone. But he then figured out, because see, what I was thinking was he would just sacrifice himself. But I like that he sacrifices his alchemy, this thing he's had for years, this thing that, has led him to where he is, but he gets rid of it because he realizes that the door of truth is a personal door of truth. It's a very personal thing. So he gets rid of his alchemy, his power, basically. He gives it all up for the sake of his brother. And that is the correct answer. So I like that. And I like that the truth was kind of proud of it. Because I was kind of thinking, before this episode, I was like, are we really going to, ever know what the truth is? Because we had this whole thing of, we're going to kick the truth's butt and we're going to, get our bodies back and stuff. And it's like, well, it wasn't really that. The truth is not a villain, he is, And Ed was able to get the correct answer, and he gave up his alchemy in order to save Al, So yeah. Now, the last question I do have is, did Ed ever get his left leg back? I don't think he did. I think he still has the automail leg, He got his arm back. Al got him his arm back, but he did not get him his leg. So I don't know. Granted, so I was wrong about Roy. Roy is apparently just going to be eternally blinded, the poor guy, Unless they can figure something out. It's I guess there's the question, could Roy do the same thing? Could he perform a self-human transmutation and, go give up his alchemy in return for his eyesight? I don't see why not, He would never have his flame alchemy again, but at this point, does he need it? Does he even want it, Technically, anyone who lost something to human transmutation could potentially get that thing back by sacrificing their alchemy, basically. I don't know. I kind of hope, just because, because that's the whole thing with, Ed and Al. Well, Al got his body back. Ed got his arm back, but it doesn't seem like he got his leg. Izumi is fine. She's patched up enough because of Hohenheim that she could, she probably doesn't need to do that. I mean, yeah, she won't be able to have a kid, but it could be something. But great, she couldn't really have a kid before, She had troubles having a kid before. So Roy is the only one with the really debilitating, problem, So in theory, he should be able to get his eyesight back if he gives up his alchemy. And at this point, he may be fine giving up his alchemy, I don't know. But I did like that moment of Hohenheim. Why would he do this? Why would he sacrifice his life? Because he's his father. He is Al's father, and he wants to do that. That is what a father would do, But Ed wouldn't allow that. Ed would not allow that. But yeah, we got Al's body back. Ah, it's great, man. Start feeding that boy all the sandwiches you can. We got a lot of work to put some meat on those bones, And then we had the death of Hohenheim. Even though he did want to live. He knew that his time had come. And he died with a smile on his face. But the story has not fully ended. We got to see what our characters are up to. Presumably just what are we up to after this, What is the epilogue? I hope there is something where Roy does get his eyesight back, And it's a whole thing of he would give up his alchemy too, He doesn't need that anymore. And he's willing to let flame alchemy die, basically, So, maybe. But we'll have to see. We have one more episode left of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I'm excited to see pretty much how this ends. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of my Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.